Hello Internet, my name's Lave, and this week I watched Nocturnal Animals, which is the second film from director Tom Ford, who also directed A Single Man, which I haven't seen but I hear is very good. I was really interested in seeing this film purely based on the trailers because the trailers looked very slick and it looked like a very good psychological thriller. And I loves me a good psychological thriller. So this film stars Amy Adams as Susan Morrow. She's an art gallery owner who's deeply unhappy. She leads a very materialistic life. She's married to a businessman who she suspects is cheating on her. She's just a very unhappy soul and hangs around with a lot of shallow people. But then one day she receives a message from her ex-husband whose relationship didn't end particularly well, but this message contains a manuscript of his latest novel, which is a deeply sad and tragic story about a family who get terrorized by some hillbillies. And as she reads this book, she begins to think about her previous relationship with her husband, and she's not sure whether it's actually a threat towards her or if it's a cry for help. So this film is comprised of those three narratives. You've got the real world with Amy and her shallow existence. Then you see the book as she reads it and interprets it. And then you also get to see flashbacks of her with her husband, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. And I've got to say, it's been put together really well. You do have to really concentrate because Jake Gyllenhaal is playing both the husband and the character in the book. But it has been constructed really well and told in a really nice way. It keeps you on your toes. But what this film does really well is that each story within this film has its own tone, but it blends between them really well. If I was going to lump this film into a genre, I would definitely say that overall it's a psychological thriller, but it's definitely got shades of horror in it. It's also got a romantic love story in it as well. There's also a revenge film in there as well. They've blended it together beautifully. And the same can be said with the cinematography and the visuals as well. Each story has its own look and colour palette. It's a very good looking film. And the cast all do a really good job as well. Amy Adams is really good as this shallow, lonely, regretful woman. Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is quite interesting in this. I think there's something very run-of-the-mill and stereotypical about his performance, but I think it's deliberate because one of the characters that he's playing is obviously fictional. I would argue that it is deliberate. The same can be said with Michael Shannon's character. So he plays a detective within the book's story. He's helping Jake Gyllenhaal's character chase down Aaron Taylor-Johnson's hillbilly. Michael Shannon and Aaron Taylor-Johnson are brilliant in this. Again, they're playing really stereotypical roles, but they're awesome. There's also some really nice cameos in there. Michael Sheen turns up. Laura Linney is in there as well, along with Isla Fisher. Tom Ford has got a really impressive cast here. And I think he's using this cast to tell a hugely personal story. Now, I've done a bit more research on him because I didn't know who he was, but apparently he is a fashion designer from West Texas, and there's some obvious parallels there in this film. I would absolutely argue that this is a commentary on his own life, or at least a meditation on it. But it is much more than that. This is a hugely layered film, and I think he's talking a lot about consumerism and our culture and the way we treat each other. There's also a running theme about creativity or the creative process and self-assurance. He's also talking about sensitivity being misconstrued as weakness. There's a lot going on in this film, and if I'm honest, I'm not always sure I know what he's talking about, but what it does is it makes me want to analyse it more. I would absolutely argue that this is a very personal film for him, and that's a really good thing. It makes me love it even more, and I'm going to watch it again and again and analyse it again and again. So that's my thoughts on Nocturnal Animals, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. Overall, I really enjoyed this film. It's a filmmaker's film, and one that I think deserves to be analysed, and I've got to give the director props for making it very personal. It's not going to be to everyone's taste. Some people might find it a bit cryptic, but I for one think it's worth watching and analysing. It's something that I'm definitely going to buy on Blu-ray. It's a really stylised film, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't got substance. It's something that I definitely want to see again. I think the director is bearing his soul and is saying a lot about himself. What he's saying, I'm not sure all the time, but I'm definitely going to watch it again to find out. So thanks very much for watching my review. I'm sorry it's been a while since I've posted. I've actually been under the weather recently. I have seen I, Daniel Blake, and I'm planning on doing a review on that. I just don't feel like I've had the emotional strength to do it. It's a real tearjerker, that one. So I'll try and get that posted soon, but I've got a couple of other things lined up as well. But in the meantime, thanks very much for watching this video. If you can, please give it a like and don't forget to share the Lave. Subscribe.